Wagwan peoples, welcome to another episode of the Chatting in the City podcast. It is I, your humble host, Boaz, and I'm here with another special guest. First of all, Happy New Year. This is the first episode we've been back since, I want to say, December 20th or something like that. By the time you hear this will be February, but, better late than never. So Happy New Year. Thank you for staying with us, the two listeners that we have. We appreciate you. We thank you. And yeah, I'm here with another special guest, Emma. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, so I guess for a little bit of context, I can to introduce you. We have a class together, philosophy class, and one of the first few lectures, the prof is sort of introducing what the class is going to be like, what to expect, the course material. And then here she comes in and she was asking these questions about psychology, philosophy, and how it relates to ethics. And I was like, who is that? So I reached out, without basically having any, just breaking all social barriers or whatever. I reached out through the Zoom chat and I asked you to come to the chat, if she'd be willing to come into the podcast, and we're here. So thanks again.
No problem.
So the question I had for you, it's very specific, I think. And so I'll try to explain it. A couple of weeks ago, I was reading an article about transcultural psychiatry. So comparative work, looking at, different cultures, how they approach different psychiatric disorders and illnesses. And the idea of W.E.B. Du Bois' double consciousness came up just randomly. And basically, for those who don't know, the idea is that Black people have this sort of, everyone has their idea of themselves, right? So, you're looking at and with yourself, who you are, what you like, things you don't like.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's kind of like your consciousness. But then he thought that for Black people, there was also like another side to it where they have their own consciousness, but then they also have to see themselves through other people, through the way the world essentially sees them, which kind of brings about a different dimension, making it double. And off that, I started thinking about obviously just Black people in general, but then somebody like yourself who's mixed. And I was wondering how being mixed affects your self-perception and your sense of belonging as it refers to well-being.
Yeah. So to start off, I guess I'm American and Guyanese. So, Black, and then very white, Croatian and Irish, actually. So, I'm very much, for all intents and purposes, just biracial, and that's it. It's not 40-60, it's 50-50 for me. And I think I definitely have, three like different personalities, the white, the Black, and my actual self that I'm actually just starting to realize now. But
right.
I definitely understand the the duality, plurality of the self-concept when it comes to, or when it refers to Black people and mixed people more specifically. I'm definitely of the mindset that I associate with different parts of myself, or a different different self-concept, or a different personality when I'm around different people. And I think that's what anyone does, but I think I don't want to speak for every Black person, every mixed person. That's not what I want to do. But for me, there are certain places that I noticed that difference, and that really affected my mental health. And so I've had the privilege of doing sports and private school, and I've had a very multicultural upbringing, but those specific instances where I went to private school and where I was in a competitive sport were just the whitest. Just like, I've never seen almost ever seen another Black person it was a ski racer. And even though we had, exchange students at my private school, it was still very much a white school, just because all the locals, all the people who were from the school, most of them were Black, except for my family, me and my sister, and maybe one or two other families. And And so that being kind of the center of most of my upbringing, that kind of, made me, dive into that, association of whiteness with goodness, and the whole idea of colorism, this white supremacy born ideology that the lighter your skin is, the better Black person you are. The attachment of being lighter makes you smarter, makes you, whatever, and these statistics to back it up, that mixed race people or lighter skinned women are 19%, I think, less likely to be incarcerated or serve shorter sentences than their Blacker counterparts. And there's so many more. And being so into that whiter culture and being so aware, not aware, but just so cognizant that I was different, but I was different. I was Black, but I was also, I was a better. And so that really affected me when it not hit, but when it, when I came to the realization that that's a privilege that I have, and that really wasn't a good thing. That wasn't anywhere close to the part I want to play, the legacy I want to lead, and serving and remembering my Black history. And in terms of like mental health specifically, I think being half and half isn't a new thing for me when it comes to a lot of my identities, so that sort of not really knowing how to act has caused me so much cognitive dissonance that it overwhelms me so much when I'm in a place where two worlds collide or something, or where I experience like a shift in how I should feel or the way I should act. Coming to university, for example, I didn't know where I was going to fit in and how I needed to act to fit in, because before it was, okay, in this area, this is where I act Blacker, in this area, this is where I act whiter. But coming to university and being able to think and do what I want, because that's what university makes you realize, is that this is what I want to do and this is what I want to be.
Right.
Really kind of freed me from that, but it also made me realize all those things, and that was like a complete, like, that was when it all came crumbling down, my whole social identity in terms of this like false sense of superiority for being white-ish, like having that light skin privilege, that when that all came crumbling down, and when I realized, no, this is my issue that I'm struggling with as in the form of not white privilege, light skin privilege, like that's when and then this summer it got worse when I was like, wow, this is not a person I want to be. I need to be more aware of that, and I need to kind of make sure not make sure, but being able to express both sides equally was really important to me. And so that came in the form of learning and listening and watching videos on and podcasts on all these different topics, colorism, tokenism, anything, the police industrial complex, everything. Mental health was a struggle, and it came along with a lot of other experiences of being half and half.
So I'm curious about your experience going to private school, and you said you were a skier. Did you feel like, I guess my question is about like, it's almost like your life seems like you were living a sort of like code switching, but in the sense of like not necessarily language or the way you speak, but just the way you are, like the way you are essentially, like your being. Like in this place, I am like this, and in that place, I am like that. But it's much deeper than the way you speak and the way you behave. It's literally the way you are. Could you expand on that?
Yeah. So I've been a ski racer for more than a decade, and I started when I was really, really young and had no awareness of the impact that the color of my skin had on other people. In terms of just overt racism or microaggressions, like mom bringing me to the ski hill. Who is this kid? You're white. Why are you bringing a little black girl and putting her on skis? Like, so I was never really aware of it then. And then when I went to private school, it kind of reaffirmed that kind of that feeling of differentness, but also isolating myself from the Black community because there was no one else around me to keep me in check, to put me back to the equilibrium that I should be feeling as comfortable as half white and half Black. And I dissociated myself from a lot of experiences of racism, microaggressions that I otherwise would have been aware of if I, for better or worse, knew what these feelings that I was feeling. Like, why do I feel different? Knew what that was. And that's not to say that, you know, my parents are not good for not teaching me that kind of stuff, but you know, the conversation of, hey, you're Black and that makes you a little different and that makes people see you different, that would have been helpful. Right. Anyway, yeah. And then when I went to, after I left private school when I was in grade 7, just not the fit for me. I felt very out of place. And I think that was more just the way I learned. So I came back and I went to just a Catholic school. And there, even though it was further away from the GTA, further away from a lot of the multiculturalism you see in Toronto, there was a lot more Black people that I could connect with. So I felt that, you know, acting the way that I did in school and then acting the way that I did at the ski hill was even further from, they were even further from where I should be in the middle, which was, you know, just myself and just not acting any certain way, trying to prove something, like literally saying things to, you know, express some sort of like, oh, I'm not like those other like Black people. I'm not like those other white people, you know, for both sides. It went one way or the other. And I was playing both cards.
It's just the context and the situation you're in.
Yeah. Right. And that really happened when I was in high school, when I came to elementary school and high school, when I was at a school that had not only boys, it was an all girls private school. So the boys were a different thing, but not only the boys, but Black boys and Black girls who were a lot different than the girls that the white or Black girls from private school. They weren't not privileged. They weren't, it was a different socioeconomic status. No, like, you can just like say that there was obviously a difference, but it wasn't a difference in character. It was just a difference of the context, like you said. And so I was finding myself doing both, trying to connect with my Black peers, but then also trying to disconnect from them. And that really didn't make me a popular kid. That didn't help me with my mental health. I felt very isolated because I was pushing myself away and I was being pushed away. I was pushing myself away very, very like in my own head and overtly. I remember a specific instance in the car with my dad and my sister. My sister had volunteered for Pride, and she was just keeping the people, you know, moving or whatever. And that was the year in, I think it was 2015 or 2016, that the Black Lives Matter protest stopped the parade and said, we want the police not in uniform and not here at Pride. And I remember being in the car and saying, oh, I don't support BLM if they're doing that. That was at the peak of this, like, dissociating myself from Blackness. And that moment is just like the worst feeling for me, the most just guttural disgust, I guess. But overall, just an effect, the result of just this colorism, this Eurocentricity, this, like, whatever pick-me term you can think of for being Black, but, you know, wanting to be a little white. That's what I felt. And I was even like, I I ran the Black History Month presentation like the next year. Did I know anything about BLM? Did I support BLM? Like, who knows? Like, I was struggling so much to figure it out in a way that I can dissociate myself and try to, you know, make myself, I have no idea, but it was so crazy. And I think sports and private school definitely played a huge role in it. Just that feeling of connectedness and disconnectedness.
Do you feel like now that, you know, you said coming to university was a big change and a good change, do you feel like you know more of who you are now?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think so. A lot of the colorism and Eurocentrist views I had to do with hair. I straightened my hair every day from the end of grade 11 until the end of first year, and then after that, my hair progress, my hair journey kind of represents the journey that I had with coming to terms or accepting and loving blackness, and black excellence. Um and when I stopped straightening my hair, like, this was second year, I started, learning and understanding, okay, this is how I keep my hair. My hair's black. I can't straighten it every day. It's not going to be healthy. And that kind of translated into, okay, I need to stop acting white. It's not healthy for you. What are you achieving? That's what everyone wants. That's what this terrible racist system, these institutions, that's what it wants, and so going along, I kind of always kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Just, I was able to kind of very gradually move into a better version of myself just by making these changes and acknowledging that that is what needed to be changed. My hair, for example, which is a big part of, Black culture in general. And and then also just generally, like, connecting with Black people and connecting with even, like, my grandmother, asking her, where did we come from? What what is this Black part of me? I guess, just, that sounds kind of cliche or whatever, but where do I come from? And learning about that and connecting with that was really, really important to me. And she actually died in September, but I was so happy I got to have that conversation with her like weeks before. And that was kind of a lot of my push towards learning more and feeling better about myself, was that conversation. And I think it was, this summer was the inciting incident for a lot of people for doing that. And I'm no different. And yeah.
You feel like, because you mentioned that your parents, it could have been nice for your parents to actually sit you down
Mm.
and say, hey, you're Black, but you're also white, and the way the world will see you is different. That would have been nice to have. But then my question is, like, it's sort of like, I guess from your parents' perspective, it's like, in a way, taking away your child's innocence, because it's like you're gonna tell your child that the way she sees herself, or the way that she might think of herself, is not necessarily the way the world's gonna see them. If your parents had sat you down and basically told you that the way that the world sees you is not the way you might see yourself, and sort of try to break down all those things, like you said, the colorisms, feeling like you're part of both worlds but not exactly part of both waters. It's like you're part of both, but you're also not at the same time, right?
Mm.
And all of that goes along with that. I feel like it would have helped you, but also would have drastically changed the way you see the world. And like I'm not sure to what degree it would have helped you, but I like to hear what you think.
Yeah, I don't know how much it would have helped me either. Um, I think there's a time for everything, just like there's a time to tell your kid that Santa's not real. I think telling, not relating, hey, there's racism in the world, to, hey, Santa isn't real. Those things are two very different things. But um, I think it could have happened. And that's not to say that my parents are completely terrible for not doing it. I think they did a good job at raising me to turn the other cheek when you experience stuff like that, not get involved in the sense of, like, it's their racism isn't your issue. Your issue is to care for yourself. And even though that in itself could be a problem, me and my sister have found a way to educate ourselves and be better for ourselves, and not and just let Black excellence speak for itself, and in a way take what we have, which is the knowledge that we have from our experience, but also from all of what we learn and we experience by going to university, and by, you know, doing our own, you know, research, um, and take that, and in the cases where there's someone important that we care about, that we need, that we would like to teach and express our our discomfort for the way that they say something, or the fact that they, you know, they accidentally say the N-word in a song or something. Um like specifically, I have a friend who wants to be a cop, and I just wanted him to acknowledge, hey, there's something inherently wrong. And so I used my some of the things that I've learned, which is it's not a lot, but it's enough to express, hey, this is an institutional issue, and that's what you're signing up for. Being able to express to the people that I care about that there's racism, and I don't need to fight everyone's battle. I can be a part of the movement by, I can be an anti-racist by being anti-racist for the people that matter to me, and not for that random guy in the street that definitely, that definitely was a microaggression, you know, like the people I care about, I've been able to express to them, hey, this is something I really care about, and I want you to watch this documentary, I want you to read this book, and I want you to maybe learn about this, so that we can have a conversation, you can connect with me, and you can be where I am and be anti-racist. Not just, it's not enough to be against racism, you have to be anti-racist. And so that's what I do, and I try to teach. That's what I mean when I say just stay out of it. I don't mean, you know, don't stand up for what you believe in. I mean, do all you can, but then also care for the people who you care about. And don't, you'll become exhausted if you go on everyone's, like if you reply to every racist Twitter comment with, you know, a 5-page essay about,
Right.
you know, the history of racism.
I mean, the first step would be to get off Twitter. That's what I think. But you know,
Yeah.
everybody, you know, can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to tell people what to do. But Twitter, just get off Twitter. I'll tell that to you.
I actually I deleted my Facebook. So I deleted Facebook and Instagram because I was just like, there is nothing happening here. You sharing a black screen doesn't do anything. I'm gonna go on, you know, Twitter. I'm gonna, you know, follow AOC. I'm gonna follow DuVernay. Ava DuVernay. I'm gonna follow these people and hear what they have to say, and not just see a picture of them or a picture of some random person saying, yeah, I'm at the rally today, this is performative. Like Twitter's a little less performative. So, you know, but yeah, get off of that kind of Twitter.
And my friends and I actually we did it on this a little while back. I think it was episode 5. We talked about that whole black screen that happened over the summer. Sort of like what, you know, how we felt about it. You know, I said my thoughts, they said theirs, and like, you know, I think the consensus was it was, you know, like you said, a little more performative than anything else. And I don't know, it's always interesting to see how people react to things. Like currently, there's the Bell Let's Talk campaign is happening,
Mm.
and you know, there's been a lot of people coming out and saying, you know, you just reposting that video of Michael Bublé. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a video going around of Michael Bublé, I guess, doing things and like, you know, talking about Bell Let's Talk and mental health. People were basically saying, you know, you reposting the video, that's, you know, that's not enough. We actually have to have a serious conversation about mental health, especially now in, you know, in the context of a pandemic, right?
Mm.
So it's always really interesting to see what happens, you know, when, like you said, certain topics come up, and it's almost like these topics come up at a societal level, and everybody has to sort of like come to grips with them and figure out what they feel. And like for a lot of people, it's like maybe you don't really know who to talk to, so you just figure that, you know, sharing this thing is, you know, at least a first step, right?
Yeah.
And then there are others who just, you know, don't necessarily think that's good enough, and you have to do more and more and more. But I don't know.
Mm.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're coming towards the end. I want to try a little something. Something that I took from kind of appropriate from another podcast. It's called the PSA. So usually a PSA is a public service announcement, but from the Ray GA's podcast, the PSA is promote, share, and ask. So if you have something to promote, you can promote it, and then I'll share something, and then you get to ask me, because I've been asking you questions this whole time. So you get a chance to ask me a question. So do you have something to promote?
Promote just anything?
Just anything.
Okay, well, 3 things. Wazi Clothing, Black women-owned brand from Los Angeles. They're amazing. So that's a clothing brand. YouTube, I guess, T1J on YouTube, amazing. Taught me a lot about, he's a Black creator who's, teaching me about things like tokenism, colorism, like everything related to Blackness, and he's incredible. Ike Avajon, he's cool too. He's a Black TikTok creator.
Okay.
He's cool. So those are my 3 promotions.
Could you say it again? What's the clothing brand?
Wazi, WASI, Wazi Clothing.
Wazi Clothing. Yeah. Okay, from Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And then T1J and the TikToker. Actually, funny. We just the lab. We just started a TikTok page. That's gonna be a lot of fun. I mean, like, I don't think we'll be doing any like dances and I don't know any of that.
Yeah.
Putting up clips from the podcast. Some of the other stuff they're doing will be going up there as well. So that should be fun.
TikTok is amazing. So much goes on. I mean, some of it bad, but some of it really, really good. And it's never been done before. You are being able to, see and experience people's lives just that quickly and that easily like that. It's amazing. I don't have it, but like, I get it.
I was going to say, I have my, I don't know, what is it? It's supposed to be 60 seconds. That's the max.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's the max. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. There's a lot to be said about, attention in 60 seconds. Seems like everything is getting shorter, but that's another conversation. Share. What do I have to share? I don't even have a thing to share. Not really. Oh, share. Well, I'll share this. The lab, we're doing a digital campaign. So it's the second one that we've done. It will essentially be about sort of facts, some of the results that are coming out of studies at the lab about mental health in Black communities. So we'll be sharing that, I think, starting February 1st, so in a couple of days. That should be a lot of fun. So if anybody's interested, check that out. And you get to ask me something.
Why did you pick psychology? Why was that your choice? And does anything have to do with race for you?
Does it have to do with race? No.
Did you decide to go into psychology for a specific reason? And did any of it have to do with being Black, being a male?
There isn't a specific
I know
reason.
That a lot of,
because I applied to several programs and I got offered all of them, but I chose psychology because I think people are interesting. Like talking to people, just watching people do things, when you could actually go out and watch people do things. I think people are really, really interesting. And like, I guess it's more, I like it because I think that was the reason. People are interesting. And I just, instead of just watching people, want to try to understand sort of what's going on in their head when they're doing things, what they're thinking. So that was the original sort of the reason why I got into it. And as it pertains to race, I'm interested in like mental health, specifically in the Black community, right? And how, because there's a lot of things that we just don't know in the Black community, like, that you can actually seek help for anxiety or depression. A lot of people don't even know what anxiety is. They have it, but they don't actually have that term for it to, make the association that I'm feeling this way. My system is up, and they don't know what that is. They just kind of assume it's something else, and they ignore it. Or depression. People don't. On that note,
I actually I was watching Central Intelligence with Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson, and Kevin Hart's wife was like, we should go to couples therapy. And Kevin Hart was like, we don't go to therapy. Black people don't go to therapy. Black people go to barbershops, or they watch the movie Barbershop. And I remember being so offended by that stereotype. that Black people can't go to therapy. Because I go to therapy, it's fine, it's good. Like, go to therapy. It's like
Yeah, so like it's stuff like that, and like it's just I guess people try to like help their own from different perspectives, right? They're economists looking why social inequality has sort of persisted in terms of like, socioeconomic status, right? Trying to figure out what that is. And then I guess for my part is just trying to figure out why, there isn't, well, we don't talk about mental health as much, why we don't actually have the tools to deal with it. So like I'm interested in physical activity as it relates to mental health and well-being. So like that's kind of what I want to study and keep on studying and research, because I feel like there's I guess society's just, there's a disconnect between like the body and the mind, and people always think that if you're struggling you need to take drugs, or if you're struggling you need to deal with it within your head, right? Whereas it's like if you actually do exercise, there are positive benefits. There's a ton of literature showing how physical activity basically lowers your cortisol, and that affects your anxiety and your depression, et cetera, et cetera.
I think there's a Ottawa study that was done last year about that, actually.
So yeah, I got into psych because I find people fascinating. Like I can sit at anywhere in public and just watch people walk and do things, and try to like figure out why they're doing it, invent like a backstory or whatever. And then, yeah, so that's why I chose psych.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for doing this. I guess I'll see you in a few days because we have a test. If you're ready for it.
Have I studied? We'll see.
Who knows? But yeah, thanks again, people. Thank you for listening. But yeah, that's it. Thanks again. See you next time.